Hello all. Thanks for joining us for one of the Women's Foundation Powerhouse Power Hours. We're really excited to have you here with us and to have a wonderful group of women joining us to talk some about their lives and their experiences and their businesses. The focus of this conversation today is going to be all about some of our women entrepreneurs and the challenges that they've faced as COVID-19 has come into our lives, and some of the innovations and the big pivots that they have made, both in their businesses and their lives in response to that. My name is Jen Ewell. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the director of the Women's Foundation of Montana. And the Women's Foundation is a statewide nonprofit. We're part of the larger Montana Community Foundation, and our mission is all about really helping women to be economically prosperous in the state and supporting girls and a brighter future for girls in our state. And we also are really happy to have an online platform. It's called Powerhouse Montana. You can find it at powerhousemt.org. That's how many of you, I think, have found us today, is through Powerhouse. And it's really just a place where women can connect to opportunities and resources and mentors across the state of Montana. So thanks again for joining us. As I said, I'm really excited to have a great crew of women with me here today. And I'm going to let each of them actually introduce themselves. So you'll get to hear a bit more from them about themselves and their businesses. And then we're going to jump right into talking more about their experience through the corona crisis. And I just want to say before we begin, it really helps us all, as it says on the slide, if folks can generally keep their microphones muted and their cameras off, because we have about 100 people on the call today. So we get lots of fun feedback if we don't do it that way. And that you are certainly welcome at any time to jump in the chat, introduce yourself if you'd like. It's really fun to see in the chat who's here with us today. And you can also put in the chat any questions you might have as we go along. And at the end, hopefully we'll have some time for further questions as well. Okay, so let's get started. Jen, would you start by kind of introducing yourself and your business, please?
Yes. Hi, I am Jen Rahr, and I live in Billings, Montana. And I'm owner and graphic designer at Deer Creek Design Studio, and I do everything from logo and branding design all the way through to print design, vehicle wraps, signage, and things like that. And I am also a creative director at Legacy Creative, and that is a women's entrepreneur group. We're mostly based online. It's a mindset community and solution for women who feel alone, isolated, and need more support to scale their business and create their legacy. And then now I'm also part of ProjectLove, which was created in the COVID crisis and stuff, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. So
awesome. Welcome, Jen. Sara, can you give us a little intro?
Yes, absolutely. Hey everyone, I'm Sara Calhoun. I'm here in White Sulphur Springs, Montana. I'm the owner of Red Ants Pants, our workwear for women company. We make a bunch of pants and other products for hardworking women everywhere. Things are all made in the USA. Also the producer of the Red Ants Pants Music Festival, which takes place here every July, except for this year. And additionally, the executive director of the Red Ants Pants Foundation, which is our nonprofit branch in support of women's leadership, working family farms and ranches, and rural communities. And we have programs such as the festival, a grant program where we've gifted a lot of money across the state with proceeds from the event, as well as a timber skills course and a girls leadership program.
Thanks, Sara. I know we're all bummed to miss the festival this year, but it makes sense. So thanks. Courtney, do you want to jump in and intro yourself, please?
Yeah. So I'm Courtney McKee, and I am talking to you guys from my office in beautiful Butte, Montana today. So I am the co-owner and co-founder, along with my husband, of both Headframe Spirits and Headframe Spirits Manufacturing. So we produce distilled spirits that we sell all over the country. We run a tasting room here in Butte. And we also build distillation equipment that we sell to distilleries around the world. So contextually, that means that I, in lots of conversations like today, I'm sort of here representing tourism, representing value-added ag, and representing manufacturing. The two companies work extremely closely together. We share employees between the two. We have about 30 people on Team Headframe, and both entities are certified B corporations. And if that's not a phrase that you're familiar with, what that means is that we're registered as benefit corporations. And that's a declaration that we are here as a business, as a corporation, to provide a return greater than simply a return to our shareholders. We're here to do good for the world. And I'm delighted to be here with everyone today.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us. I know each of you is incredibly busy and has so much on your plate. And so I just wanted to say how grateful we are that you're here to share today with the Powerhouse community. And this conversation is really about not only celebrating amazing, strong women and what they accomplish in Montana, but also really supporting all of the members and thinking about what wisdom and resources we can share that are helpful in kind of lifting each other up. So that's what this conversation is going to be about today. Great. So I just want to kind of jump right in. And I'd like to invite each of you to share a little bit about the impact that coronavirus has had on your business and your life. What happened in March when this all came down, and then maybe some also about your thinking and process and what happened next, as I know each of you has done really innovative things in your communities and in your business to both, help with the business part and help with the community part. So I'm gonna invite Jen to go ahead and start and tell us her story.
All right. Well, probably the biggest impact for me with the coronavirus was school ending and everything that happened because of that. So I have two young kids. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I'm a single mom here in Billings. And so all of a sudden they're going to be home all the time. And I felt very fortunate because I do work from home. So it didn't interrupt our life so much as that regard, because I didn't have to worry about who was going to be watching them and stuff, but they were going to be home all the time. And then very quickly people canceled large jobs that were coming in, which was good in the fact that I didn't have time to do them anyways, because I was now being teacher and mom and everything full time, but also bad because that's where my money comes from. And then really the biggest shift that my life took was when my friend Sara called me and said, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I used to work for Head Start, and I know that a lot of the kids aren't going to be able to get to the schools and get their lunches. So I'm going to deliver lunches, and I want to put stickers on the bag, and I want to, make it like a little note like we used to get from our moms in our lunch bags and stuff. And I just want them to really know, like, we really care about them. And so I created a logo and made some stickers for the lunches. And the first day after school closed, she delivered 19 lunches. The next day, she had put a message out on Facebook and said, hey, if you can't get to the school, like, we want to help and we want to bring you lunch. And then the next day after the second day, she had over 100 lunches. And so we were brainstorming ideas. What else could we do? How could we make this, more special to these kids? And a lot of businesses and individuals wanted to jump in and help as they could as well. So we decided to do coloring sheets, and you can see on the slide the coloring sheets there. You are loved is kind of the slogan that we went with, and everything hearts and love. And we took the businesses' logos and we created coloring sheets based upon those, so we could kind of highlight the different businesses that were helping and individuals that were helping, and give a little something extra fun in the lunches for the kids to do. And like I said, my kids were home, and so I got them involved. Easter break fell over the middle of this, and Sarah was like, I want to do something extra special. I want to make like Easter baskets for these kids. And so the Friday, I think before Easter, they got their lunch in an Easter basket. So the kids and I created a special sticker that was kind of Easter themed, and we spent the afternoon putting stickers on these buckets and filling them with candy and little extra special things. And we got to deliver the lunches one day as well. And so I really got my kids involved in it, and that was kind of what was even more empowering or whatever with all of it, is that they wanted to help and they wanted to help other kids. And yeah. So I was still just working on these things on the side. I helped get the word out with social media and stuff. I put out posts and different things. As of now, today, we have delivered over 11,750 lunches to kids here in Billings since starting this project. March 16th, I believe, was the first day. And the community has been overwhelmingly supportive of this. We get so many thank you notes from the families that are involved. Like, we couldn't have done this without you. You know, my kids would be hungry, and we are so appreciative of everything. We have volunteer drivers that are taking the lunches, and people want to help, people want to be involved, and it's really, really heartwarming to see all of that. As far as my business, so it took a bit of a step back for a little bit, but this was a way that I could use my skills to help out the community in some way. And then I also, like I said, I'm creative director at Legacy Creative, which was actually created kind of in the middle of this. It went from a shift. We were an entrepreneurs group, mostly online, but we were hosting local meetups and things like that too. And it used to be called Big Sky Women, so I don't know if you've heard of that, but we took a shift and decided to kind of recreate the way things are, make it a team effort over the period of this. And so we used that lull time to do a lot of legwork there and create this Legacy Creative. And that community really grew. I really relied on you know, those women in that group for support and stuff, because like I said, I'm a single mom here in Billings. Most of my family is in North Dakota, and so online is where you could connect with other people. And so it was really, really awesome to have that community there, and everybody's just so supportive of everybody else. Everybody will spread the word for everybody, and they all helped get the word out about ProjectLove and stuff too. And since then, my business has picked up again, and I'm looking to actually start hiring somebody for help. So it was scary, but it was probably really good. Some of the best things come out of the most scariest times and the hardest times. So I really felt fortunate in my situation and wanted to give back what I could and show my kids that that's what's important too, is that you do what you can for everybody else too.
Thanks, Jen. Awesome. Thanks for sharing your story and for all you do. I want to say thanks from Powerhouse too, because you've been so instrumental in really supporting the Powerhouse community in Billings and helping host all kinds of awesome trainings and events. So we really appreciate you and all you do. And I wanted to tell you, I don't know if you can see comments or if you're looking at comments, but you're getting lots of love, of course. So thanks, and we're going to come back to you and ask more questions later. Okay, Sarah, tell us about your experience.
Yeah, and thanks, Jen. That is so inspiring to hear, and Billings is lucky to have you for sure. So I was trying to look back at the timeline of all of this the past few months, and I think many of us feel like we've been drinking out of a fire hose steadily without even taking a moment to pause and reflect on what has happened. So this was a nice invitation to do so. So thank you guys for doing this. It's been good to take a moment. So in looking back, I looked at our last board meeting for the foundation was March 6th, where we said, should we be worried about this coronavirus thing for the festival? We all decided, no way, not going to happen. 2 weeks later, I got a call from Rich Rasmussen, head of the Montana Hospital Association, asking if Red Ants Pants could start making masks and gowns for our Montana hospitals. 1 week later, we decided as a full staff and community that we had to cancel the festival, which we then did, sadly and necessarily, but a very difficult decision as it was our 10-year anniversary celebration this summer. And all the contracts were in place. April 4th, we were about to announce our lineup, start selling tickets, getting everything ready to roll. In some ways, it did seem perhaps a bit early to cancel a late July event, and certainly took a lot of courage to do so as the first Montana event to cancel. But it was necessary with the risk financially and with public health and safety. And the bottom line came down to the fact that even if restrictions would be lifted by late July, we could not guarantee that everyone would be safe. And I personally can't live with that unless people can be guaranteed safety. So a difficult decision, but one that had to be made, and our fans and community received it very welcomely, and everyone was quite sad but supportive of the decision. So that happened Saturday, April 4th. Sunday, April 5th, the phone started ringing off the hook. Highway Patrol, Billings Clinic, Forest Service, the Talon Energy Mine, all these folks and frontline workers across the whole state with this demand for masks and gowns. So fortunately, we had a new potential manufacturing partner that was starting up in Billings. So we started partnering with them to contract on the cut and sew production. You can see in the picture the black gowns are the ones that are produced there. And then additionally, in-house, we started sewing our own branded masks just because our customers were wanting them to be able to, sell them to the public. So our store manager here, Cammie, who she was on full salary, but we made her stay home once we closed the shop in March. She's a seamstress as well and started just sewing at home. And then the next thing you know, we rented more machines from our local youth center and started a little production chain here in the shop. I got to sew again, which was fantastic after 14 years of running the company and not actually using my hands. So that was lovely. So we launched into this full PPE pivot, and I will say it was a very steep learning curve, certainly one that, kind of getting forced to learn a whole new industry, and the medical specs and the supply chains were a nightmare, and the sourcing and managing all the clients and with really, really tight timelines, new manufacturing partners, a whole new industry, and, design features on gowns and what each hospital wants, and certainly challenges around every corner. So we dug deep and used the strength that was there, even though we didn't know we had it. And we've been able to fulfill most of these orders so far. So learning lots, certainly, on all of that front, and very happy to be able to pitch in and be useful. Again, it's hard not to overpromise and underdeliver when there's such a high demand for such quick turnarounds and high intensity relationships, and not the way we typically do business. Obviously, trying to figure out budgeting and cash flow management, and we'll get into some of the state and federal programs, I think, later in this call. But yeah, it's been a lot, but we have made it so far. So that's the pants company side, and then additionally on the Red Ants Pants Foundation side, where we really try to support rural communities. And what we're doing now and next is doing some innovating and pivoting it once again to look at how we can best serve our rural communities and their partners across the state. Hopefully partnering with Cora Newman on some public health education and doing a needs assessment out across the rural communities to really see what's going on, where support is needed, and hopefully building this bridge between public health and economic health in the future so that we do not have to choose between dollars or lives. So that's what we've been up to here in White Sulfur.
Wow, what a story. Yeah, I know when you canceled the festival, a lot of us were sad, but I know I sent you an email then, and I just want to echo now, I do think it took a lot of courage, and I totally respect that decision. I'm sure it was hard, but I think, you're on the side of safety, and that's always good. And the other piece is that I wanted to just say I'm excited that you're continuing to be able to do the Girls Leadership Project, even though it's going to be more of an online version, right? Yeah.
Well, at this point, we are planning to launch this fall in person if we're allowed to, with all the necessary precautions. It's 16 people together, so if things stay as is, we should be able to. And thank you, Women's Foundation, for your support on that program. So applications are open now for girls leadership. So if anyone out there knows a junior year high school girl that'll be entering their junior year in the fall, check out our applications, redancepantsfoundation.org. And it's a really neat in-depth leadership program for our rural youth.
Awesome. Yes. And we can share that link in a follow-up email to the folks who are on, so they can maybe pass it along to some girls in rural communities. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to just say too, real quick, I saw in the chat that the owner of Project Lunch is on the call too. Just wanted to give a shout out to her and say thank you so much for all you've done in the Billings community to help make sure kids got fed. So yay, Sarah, thank you. Okay, Courtney, you're up. Can you share a little bit about your experience with us?
Absolutely. So, so thinking about this a little bit like Sarah did in terms of a timeline, Headframe, we're here in Butte, and Butte throws one hell of a St. Patrick's Day party. Headframe was all sorts of ready for a great St. Patrick's Day, for a really big release of an Irish style whiskey that we started making before we were even open to the public 8 years ago. We realized March 15th, which was a Sunday, that we just couldn't, in good conscience, participate in St. Patrick's Day, that we needed to make sure that the tasting room was closed and that we were protecting our team and being good stewards of our community by discouraging St. Pat shenanigans, which was a really hard thing for us to do. Our team makes incredible tips on St. Patrick's Day. It's one of the largest dollar days of the year for our team, and again, values trump dollars, and so we made the decision to be closed. And of course, at that point, you've got no answer on when you're going to reopen, if you're going to reopen, what the scope and scale of this is going to look like. And so we spent the next 2 weeks working on cleaning the tasting room, repainting, doing some necessary work in that space, and keeping all of our bartenders on staff, and starting then to build the plan around what are we going to do. And very similar to the stories you've heard already, this is really people looking at ways to utilize their skills and their resources to show up in a different way. And I feel really inspired listening to Jen's story and to Sarah's story. And ours is similar in the sense that we had the ability to make hand sanitizer. So the regulatory body that governs distilleries came out with an amendment to our rules enabling us to produce hand sanitizer. And similar to what Sarah was saying, this is new procurement, this is new regulatory bodies we've got to deal with, new production methodologies, new distribution models. But in just a couple of weeks, we built out this whole new business unit around hand sanitizer. And so we were producing at a rate of about 3,000 gallons a week. And shipping to communities across Montana. So you can see in the photos some of the mini bottles that we were doing. You can see some of the 5-gallon containers, my Charlie's Angels shot there of the 5-gallon containers. We were doing some of the first we were able to deliver to first responders, medical personnel, police, fire, hospitals, clinics, just folks around the community. And from there, we were able to start serving much of Montana. I don't have a map of how many counties we've supported, but I know that we were getting orders from clerk and recorder's offices prior to the elections to make sure that that clerk and recorder's offices were covered, that election offices were safe, that police, fire, hospitals, clinics all around the state have benefited from the hand sanitizer that we made. Our employees were given raises to do this work. We actually went to 3 shifts a day for a chunk of time. So all of our team got raises, and we were able to add 5 additional people to our team, at least temporarily. And many of these were folks who had been laid off from other positions. One of them was our son, who's 15 and was supposed to be finishing his freshman year of high school. And that was, just such an interesting experience. Jen, you said you sort of doubled down on the education. We kind of did the opposite. He spent a couple hours, a couple days a week on schoolwork, and spent about 3 days a week full time, full days helping us with hand sanitizer. Part of what made this possible, and we'll talk more about this, was the security that the PPP program brought to Headframe. So we were really able to stop worrying about short-term concerns around protecting our ability to pay our employees. And we're really able to shift our mindset to how to be of service to our community. And that, certainly matters much more to us than what our P&L looks like, right? Especially in really difficult moments. So we had shut the tasting room, we had stopped production of spirits. Those things have restarted. The tasting room is cautiously open at about 50% capacity. We're allowed to be open at a greater capacity than that, but that's not a place where we feel comfortable yet. We have our whole team working in masks still. We're being extremely cautious. We're taking great attention and care of the team because you take care of the people who take care of you. So we've been really proud to all of us. I'm not just speaking for myself and my husband, I'm speaking for all of Team Headframe. Our team has been incredibly proud of the way they've been able to show up and serve Montana during this really difficult, stressful time. To turn bartenders into emergency personnel, essential workers, I think has been a real point of pride on our team. And I'm grateful for those opportunities that we've had to show up well during this time.
Awesome. I love how each of you has a story of sort of like, I feel like a moment of creativity and innovation where you had to just be like, okay, what else can I do? I feel like it's, such great examples of how all of us have had to kind of look at our lives and be like, well, this is off the table, but what is on the table? What can we be doing now? And what does that look like? And how can we help? So I love these stories. One of the things that we really wanted to do with this webinar, in addition to just really hearing the stories and celebrating the innovation that's happening, is to also be sure and share some of the resources that are out there. And I know I asked each of you to think some about what resources you took advantage of during this time. And that, I think this conversation could be either more sort of like personal resources and what's gotten you through, but also the really practical resources that are out there. We want to be sure and connect people to those. So I'm going to invite each of you to think and share a little bit about that. And then I know there are some questions that people are shooting our way too. So I'm going to start figuring out how I can relay those to you as well. So anybody can jump in at this point. Thoughts about what resources have really helped?
I guess I'll start. What went through my mind is, of course, what went through everybody's mind, like how am I going to be able to live or afford to live through all of this if I don't have work, if I don't have money coming in? So I applied for everything, whether I thought I would get it or I would know what to do with it if I did get it. but I just applied right away. And I was fortunate that our local economic development here saw the need, you know, after immediately the EIDL and all the, we don't know how this is going to happen and how long it's going to take to get the money from all of this. And so they pooled some money that they had and allowed for quick turnaround loans for local businesses here in the Yellowstone County. And so I was able to get one of those. And like Courtney said, it's just a comfort to know like that I'm going to be fine. I'm going to get through this and I don't have to worry about that going forward. And then it's just, all right, how can I help? What can I do now? And then it just seems like as long as you have your support system there, you don't have to worry about that money right now, then you can go forward and figure out what to do and figure out how you're going to shift. And yeah, just to have that not worry in there was a big, huge help.
Great. Yeah. I don't know if the Big Sky loans are still available, but I'll look into that for our resource sharing for later. Anybody else? Thoughts about resources?
Yeah. I'm happy to jump in there. Right out of the gate, I would have to do a big shout out to Liz Moore and the Montana Nonprofit Association. They were incredibly helpful with getting all the information out and offering town hall webinars every day, it seemed, for the first couple of weeks to really inform all of us in the nonprofit world across the state on different programs and what was happening and what was going on. That was essential. And then on the pants side, Montana Manufacturing Extension Center, MMEC at a Bozeman there, and out of MSU, they were a fantastic resource in gathering all of us who were working in the PPE manufacturing. And then we went into different divisions and had weekly calls of who was doing, you know, stone goods versus hand sanitizer, et cetera. And the network of Montana businesses that support each other is incredible. It was a really great reminder that this is a pretty wonderful place to do business. So that was really great to see everyone pitching in together and sharing resources on supply chain challenges and all the rest. And we were fortunate to get PPP loans for all three entities and grants from the state, one for innovation on the pants side and then one for festival relief as well. So that has all been a very necessary and helpful step too.
Awesome. And we'll definitely be sharing the link to those resources at the state after the call. And I will say, from what I understand, I think all of those things are still available at this time, both like the PPP, regular PPP funding, and then the innovation grant and the nonprofit grant, I think are all still available at this time, which is great.
Yep. There definitely is still money available through the PPP program. And you know, I encourage folks who are maybe skeptical about that program to reach out and ask questions about it, even if you're a very small business, even if you are concerned about the additional debt that might create. If you're worried about the health of your business, I absolutely encourage you to reach out. There are loan forgiveness programs that are being initiated. I don't have a lot of information about that, but really the purpose of these is to help sustain a business. And I encourage you to look past the short-term concern of additional debt and look at that from the lens of, you know, this supports and stabilizes cash flow for a period of time, and there are dollars left there. And as far as the state grants go, those are tremendous programs. I encourage you to, if you're interested in those, to reach out as well. I know that there are some grants that the speed with which they've gotten those released and available doesn't necessarily translate to a great deal of information about them being available. Some are mutually exclusive. And so I encourage you to just ask and make sure that as you're thinking about your strategy, Jen's strategy was apply for all of them, apply for all the things. And I think that's fantastic. I know that that was sort of the approach that Headframe took too, and it maybe didn't result in exactly the outcome we would have hoped for. So a conversation, I think, with folks who are administering the grants would be great if you're looking at applying for multiple grants. If you have an innovation, those innovation grants are absolutely fantastic. So they have PPE grants, $5,000 PPE grants for folks who need hand sanitizer, masks, who have had to make changes inside their business for installing plexiglass or buying iPads or any of the tools or resources you've needed to keep your team working safely and remotely. And Jen, you'll share that link, but that's just a tremendous, tremendous asset. I say all the time how proud I am to be a small business in Montana. I think that there really is this tremendous community. MMEC was a huge asset for us too. I think that it's just more remarkable to live in a state where we all get to just lean in and lean on one another to make sure that we're all coming through a time like this as okay as we can. I feel a lot of gratitude for that, both to be on the receiving end and on the giving end there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Courtney. I wanted to forward, I don't know if you all are seeing some of these chat comments, but you've got a lot of women here who would love to see some kind of package deal with the hand sanitizer and the face mask going on here. So you all can discuss amongst yourselves later and see if that's something you can do. So I guess one of the things, I do have a few specific questions coming from people, but one of the things I really wanted to make sure we touched on is, this isn't just all about business. This is about us personally too, right? I mean, we've all been going through this crazy roller coaster of emotions and whatever. I think it's super dependent on your own circumstances and experience and whether you've had, illness in your own family, whether you've lost a job. And if you have any thoughts on kind of the, what personally has been helpful to you navigating this, I'd love to hear that as well, because I think it's huge. So
the thing that was really what I clung to was just cling to kindness and ask how you can help. And that helps you, feeling needed or feeling like you are helping or doing something for your community helps you get through a difficult day. That you're able to help somebody else out can help you out, in the long run too.
yeah, awesome. That connection piece. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, just being so darn busy with these pivots has kept me out of my head, unless it's like between 2 and 6 in the middle of the night. But having honestly being able to use my hands to make something and feel productive again has been essential. And the community support across that we all have and share, although it's sad it can't be in person, and that's been huge. I will also say, and I'm not necessarily proud of this, but these kind of things are helping on a daily basis.
That was good.
Thank you, Sarah.
You were on message there, with the Headframe product. Good job.
Thank you, John McKee, for dropping that off on the way to the Smith a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he's a giver.
Yeah.
I would say that what I think was most powerful for me was, right, all the things that we knew kind of went out the window, and all the things that you felt like you could count on, and all of the strategy and all of the sort of planning, all of these things just fell right out the window. And when you've got nothing left that makes sense, the most visible, most useful compass that sits right in front of you is your values. And Sarah, I heard you say it when you talked about making the decision to halt the festival, before other organizations were really thinking that far out, before we had any real good understanding of what that time frame looked like. You relied on your values to guide you, and your care for community, that level of leadership. You said something along the lines of you couldn't stand the thought of putting people in a place of risk. and that drove your decision making, right? All the normal stuff went out the window, and we had our values to fall back on, and to drive and guide our actions. And I think that really giving some attention to understanding what our core values look like, what are the things that are most important. If everything else goes to chaos, what are the 2-3 things that we really hold in our gut as critical to us, and using that as the foundation for planning is key. I also think that selfish attention to mind, body, and spirit are critical. I think that anyone who shows up for a leadership role, and I don't mean that in terms of a title, I mean that in terms of our actions, and how we choose to show up for those that we love and care for, and for our communities. I think that we selfishly need to dedicate time to mind, body, and spirit, because if we're not filling our own cup back up, then what do we have to give? One of my core values, deepest, is service. It really is. It's the thing that drives me. It shows up in how we treat people in our tasting room, and it shows up in all the gratitude that we feel about getting to be of service in this moment in time. I've really seen my role as being of service to my team, and empowering my team to be of grander service to the community. We couldn't have done what we've done if it weren't for the dedication and commitment of the folks on Team Headframe, and all of those groups and organizations that support us. So taking care of the people who take care of us has been absolutely huge. So mind, body, spirit, and values.
I love that. I feel like I could have bullet points. See, that's my favorite when somebody just lines it out. That's great. Thank you, Courtney. And I want to echo the whole mind-body thing. I think that I have never done more yoga than I have in the last 2 months. And I have never meditated more, because I think just that idea of sort of centering and grounding has been vital to me being okay in the world right now. So even when it's crazy and I feel like I don't have time and whatever, I just feel like taking a couple minutes out is really helpful to me, being useful to everyone else in the world. So thanks for that. I know we have questions, but I am hopeful. We had one of our members contact us, and they saw our little invite to this event, and they said, I know a woman who should be part of this. She's doing amazing things, and we wanted to invite her to join and tell us a little bit about that. So I think she is on. Charlene Johnson, are you here? Charlene is the ED of Plenty Doors Community Development Center in Crow Agency. Hi, Charlene. Yay.
Hi. I'm still on the beach.
Yes, you are on the beach, lucky girl. She was nominated by a friend, and we know Charlene and have appreciated her work in the past, and we wanted her to give an opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on for her and the Crow community, because I know they're facing a lot of challenges right now.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Charlene.
And I feel honored to be featured with all these wonderful women. I just did a shout out for Headframe's spirits. We did get some hand sanitizer from you early on, so thank you very much. So let me just tell you a little bit about Plenty Doors. First of all, my name's Charlene Johnson, and I'm the founder and executive director for Plenty Doors Community Development Corporation. We're 2 years old, we formed to serve the residents of the Crow Reservation and the surrounding communities. And the mission of Plenty Doors is to improve our communities through economic development, individual and community capacity building, business development, promotion and preservation of culture, environment, and food sovereignty. So we had a big, big mission.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said you kind of cover the whole
Yeah, we want to do everything. But anyway, so our vision, so Crows, we call ourselves Abzaliga or Bilaga. And so our vision is that the Abzaliga people will be an independent nation with control over their territory, no longer dependent on outside entities. And others will seek out the Abzaliga as a resource. And so we as Plenty Doors would be a part of that whole development of self-sufficiency. And so our framework is that we inspire Abzaliga independence. At Plenty Doors, we believe that our Abzaliga people possess the ability, the intelligence and talent to control and determine our own destiny. We do not need to be dependent on outside entities to do the work that is needed or to determine what is best for our communities. Accordingly, we believe that Plenty Doors can foster community change by engaging Abzaliga people in locally driven efforts to improve our communities through our mission. Given adequate resources, our Abzaliga people will be a sovereign nation that determines for ourselves how we create a good future for our children and those to come. So that's what we were all about, and we continue to be about. And then COVID-19 hit. And so we had all these classes and resources that we offered. And then by the end of February, we had to cancel all the classes that we had offered to our community. And at that time, Thunder had reached out and said, hey, Charlene, can you purchase cleaning supplies or food or whatever? And I said, well, sure. And so our focus shifted, or pivoted, as you guys call it. We shifted. So our initial focus was to help our communities comply with the CDC guidelines. So we have three food pantries on or near the Crow Reservation, and so we thought that we could focus, we could find a niche, and our niche was that we would help families stay safe. And so we would provide cleaning supplies, and we would provide PPE and hand sanitizer. Thank you again, Headframe, Spirits. And so that was kind of our focus. And we also coordinated weekly calls with other nonprofit organizations to see where the gaps were we responding effectively to COVID-19. And so from that, you know, we, Plenty Doors did a couple of things. We provided cleaning supplies, and we shifted our program focus. We had wonderful funders who were willing to allow us to shift. And so, Foundation for Community Vitality was one of them. Northwest Area Foundation was another one who said, do what you need to do. And so what I did was, we had one of our employees who was a sewer. She started sewing masks. And so she got to work at home and sew masks, and we distributed those when she got those done. And I apologize. I was thinking, I was really impressed with the numbers you guys had off the top of your head, and I apologize, I don't have those numbers. We did give over 400 cleaning block boxes, but we coordinated mask making. So we had like Little Bighorn College people make masks. They brought their material, and we had like a, what do they call it? But anyway, we had people who cut material, and other people who ironed it, and other people who sewed it. And then we also, because we have such a high unemployment and high poverty rate, then I started utilizing funding to pay for people to make masks. And so that was a way for people to make money, but to also provide the PPE. And then we had, it was amazing. We're now 3 months into this whole thing, and we started having people who wanted to assist. What we would do is we would highlight whoever donated masks or made masks for us. And all of a sudden we had this individual who wanted to donate cleaning supplies. And all of a sudden everyone wanted to donate cleaning supplies. Local people who wanted to help our own people. So it was really cool. And then we had a small business owner. She makes yarrow balm, and she also makes juniper mint balm. And I mean, these are like really small businesses that they do it out of their home. And I was saying to one of my employees, I said, I know how much money she makes. And the fact that she donated $240 worth of product just floors me. And I apologize if I get emotional, but it's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to inspire our community to help ourselves. And then now we have people who are coming. We've got donations. We've got, so we've had people donate money. We've had people donate supplies. We've had people donate sweetgrass for those people who are quarantined. As I don't know if someone said that Bighorn County is like the hot spot. It's next to Bozeman. We have, I think, the most active cases. Anyway, we had our first case who said they use bear root, which is a product that it's a root that crows use to smudge and purify. They also use it to make tea with, and that seems to soothe your throat. And then people have said, use sage to purify the air, use sweetgrass. And so we had a store yesterday who donated sweetgrass for those quarantine families. And so just a lot of cool things that we're doing. And so we've also assisted other nonprofits and communities to, so for example, one of the food pantries was able to get money for food, but they didn't have money for gas, so we paid for the gas. We had some local hunters who said, hey, we can hunt. We can, because we don't have a hunting season on the reservation. They said, we can hunt. And so I'm paying for an account at the local butcher, and they can drop their meat off, and it's processed, and then it's donated to families. We also paid for additional food for a community. They're pretty isolated and rural, and they said we'd really like to have some food supplies there, and so we purchased that for them. And then finally, we have a community who wants to make masks for their own community, so I'm paying them to buy their material and to sew masks. And eventually they'll use that. They're also going to buy sewing machines, and they'll use that to work with their youth. So just a lot of cool things that are happening. And so our goal now is that we'd really like to take advantage of this pandemic to see how we can create a whole new reality economy for our community. Because as many of you know, reservations really have a tough time economically for a number of reasons. And we have poor housing. And so I feel like it's a great opportunity to see how can we work it innovatively? How can we create a business that is local, that is sustainable? How can we create a food system? Because right now, the cost of meat was skyrocketed. It went from tripled in our local store. And our local store is like 12 miles away, and the food costs at least double that of Billings. And so the fact that we already have a poor community, and we have the store that has double the price of Billings stores. So how can we take advantage of that? So we have individuals who are interested in gardening, so they're starting to garden. We started a market a couple of years ago, and so we're gonna include produce this year. And so, well, hopefully those families produce a little bit more, so we can actually do something kind of like a farmer's market. And we can accept SNAP benefits already. We've already done that. And some other things that we've been able to do. So we're about community building, right? And so one of the things that we have lots of infrastructure problems. And so we had, we'd been advocating for, one of our small towns had a lift station that was broken and it was spewing out raw sewage into the ditch and into the river, and it would ultimately contaminate our water source. And so anyway, we were willing, Plenty Doors was willing to pay for a temporary fix for that lift station. And because of COVID-19, even though it's a terrible thing, we were able to really push it. And we were able to get 3 other partners to help pay for that repair. And so we now have a community that has clean water and no sewage going down the ditch. And so just so excited, just so excited. And then we're also, and so we could actually proudly say, we paid for part of that, and we can drive by and say, we were a part of that. And so it's just kind of a cool thing. And then we also really advocated hard. This part we didn't have to pay for, but in Crow Agency, there was a sewer backup and again, raw sewage coming out. And it was on the corner, street corner, and it was again, moving toward the river. And what we do is we take water from the river and then we treat it and then we distribute it out to the homes. And so that was a huge risk. And the fact that our whole, we just have a lot of dysfunction, that a lot of people don't trust the water source here. And so that was a huge concern. And the fact that we were able to advocate to have that fixed as well. So it was fixed. And so again, lots of cool things that we've been able to do. And so I'm really kind of watching to see what we could do. I'm open to ideas. And again, I really feel like it needs to be generated by our own people. And I feel like it is, like this whole thing with the business and donation, that was someone in the community who wanted to make that donation, and just highlighting that. And now people are I called my brother last night and I said, I don't know what to do. I said, I have an interesting problem. I have donations coming right and left, and I don't know what to do. I'm just a very small organization. I'm a real small organization. And so, and we're again impacted by COVID, and we have people who stay at home, and it's difficult to get reliable help because we have lots of people who have, like I said, we have the highest, I don't know if we still have the highest rate of active.
I think you're definitely one of the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I'll quit there. So
thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you made the time to jump on this call today. I know you've been working night and day. Your response to me was like at 11:30 last night or something. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that you have really inspired a huge group of people today.
Well, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I just want you to know, if there are ways in which we can be supportive, I'd love for you to let me know, and I can put it out in the email that I send in follow-up, because we only have like 1 minute of our call left. But I know that all of us want to support your good work, and what you're doing is incredible. And I know one of the things that I've been able to do is follow along on Facebook. I love that you post thank you photos when people are, making donations and kind of celebrating the generosity of the community. Mm-hmm. And it's an incredible story of the pivot. I mean, your ability to really do what needs to be done, I think, for your community.
Mm-hmm.
So for that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. So we are pretty much out of time, unfortunately. And I know there were more questions, and I'm sad that we didn't get to all of them. So what I want to say about that is that if people want, I know that they can contact Courtney and Sara and Jen for sure through Powerhouse. And Charlene, maybe we can share some contact info for you too. And maybe we can do some follow-up questions in that way. And I just wanted to invite everybody, if they have one last word or thought or wrap or response they wanted to share with the group.
I think kindness is contagious, and we are extremely fortunate to live in a state where we value community over competition, and everybody just wants to lift everybody else up, and that's what we're here to do. So,
Yes, thank you, Jen. Sara, Courtney, anything you want?
Yeah, strength, courage, and hope would be my 3.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Courtney, you're muted. Unmute.
Well, let's do that. Huge gratitude to everybody today. Charlene's story is just so inspiring, and hearing the way that she's built a way for everybody to have a sense of ownership over the shared community success that they're creating is really, really remarkable. I want to extend the offer to everyone. Please, if you have a need for hand sanitizer now or in the future, don't be shy about reaching out. We are continuing to produce it until Montana no longer needs us to, and we're being as philanthropic with it as we can. So if you need it and can't pay for it, that's okay. Reach out to us too, and let us help. My goal is to break even on hand sanitizer. It is not to profit. So if we can be an assist, please don't be shy about reaching out.
Yeah, and I wanted to also just put a shout out because next week we're going to have another webinar, and this one is in response to requests from our members. So we did a webinar in April when the PPP funding first came out about how you could apply for and secure some of those funds for your business, and this one is a follow-up that's going to talk both about, again, about how you can still secure that if you need, but also if you did get PPP funding, how you can be sure and kind of follow the rules and do what you need to do to apply for forgiveness and all that good stuff. So we just want to make sure we get that information out to people. It's next Wednesday at 11 a.m. So, and we'll send that out as a follow-up as well. Thank you, each of you, for your amazing service to your communities, for being an inspiration to so many. Charlene, if you're still on the call, thank you. I think you are. Thank you so much for what you're doing in your community as well. And I think that this has been both an inspiration to all of us, but also hopefully has gotten out some good information about follow-up resources, and just continued to do our mission, which is to support all of our people out there, and especially our women out there, and lift each other up. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks, Erica.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.